Barrett Brooks, Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers and a former Eagle, and now Eagles pre- and post-game analyst on NBC Sports Philadelphia. BB, what's the word, my man?
Is anything sacred, man? My guy's out there. Pete's going through it right now, trying to pass a kidney stone.
Yep.
You announce it on air.
He posted it all over Facebook, man. He has himself in a hospital gown in the hospital. He posted. I
don't know if I want to see that.
BB, we were it's a nice picture. We were supposed to do the pregame show Saturday, and then he was leaving the pregame to go to the game. He missed both of them.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We did. We were supposed to do pregame Saturday, 2 to 3:30, and then he was going to get in the car, head up to the game. He had a ticket for the game with his brother, and he couldn't do either, and he's still laid up. So,
wow.
Feel bad for the poor guy.
Buzzard luck, huh?
Maybe he needs to sit in that bed with that stone until next weekend, because if that's the good luck charm we need, maybe that's what we got to do, right? I mean, let's get into this game a little bit. If I were to tell you, Barrett, the Eagles would have 96 yards rushing, do they win the game?
No. I would not say they win the game.
Okay. Well, that's what they end up with. But the 32 rushes was really you got to give Doug a ton of credit for sticking with the run game.
He had to. He virtually had to. I mean, it made those yards might not have they might have had an impact as far as the amount of rushing yards you had during the game for statistics, but what it did, it kept that defense honest, and that's exactly what they needed to do. That fear of them running the ball kept that defensive line from rushing the way they were rushing, which allowed this team to open the playbook up, and it was. I can't commend Doug enough for sticking to the run. We absolutely had to, and he did it.
Right. I think you made the point. The 32 runs wore them down and neutralized the pass rush. And when they needed a third down throw, they couldn't get the rush, and Foles was in a nice rhythm because they kept it simple for him. And we talked all week about them going back to 2013 and watching what he did well. Well, they implemented a little Chip Kelly on Saturday.
Yes, they absolutely did. And let me say this. Everyone, and I'm tired of the announcers saying it too, that was not an RPO. Let me explain what an RPO, a run-pass option. A run-pass option, when you get to the line and you check either a run play or a pass play, that's what that is. It's not what they were running in the second half to create all those yards. What they were running was a zone read concept. They ran the zone run, he pulled it out, and passed it. So it was actually zone read instead of RPOs. And I mean, it's driving me crazy that people are trying to correct me on what the correct terminology is. It was read zone. That's what it was. That's what Chip Kelly got it from. It's just when they were running with Michael Vick, he would fake the run, or he'd read the run, and if the end crashed down, he would keep it and run for a first down. It's different when you have a quarterback that's like Foles. Instead of him running, pulling out the running back's breadbasket and running with it, he implemented a pass play in it. So that's all it was. It was the read option specialized to Foles' strength. That's what it was. That guy's trying to tell me what I know. I mean, just telling me, this is RPO. No, they're not RPO. It's the read option.
Well, they obviously implemented a lot of that for Nick on Saturday, right? I mean, they put a lot more of that into the offense for this week.
Absolutely, they had to, because they understood that what he does well is reaction. His reactions are a lot better than most quarterbacks when it comes to running something like that. He understands how he can move where a linebacker can move a certain way, which will allow him to go to successful read. If that linebacker crashed, then he would just pull it and throw a pass right over that linebacker's head on the slant or the stop route. If the linebacker stayed outside and got in a passing lane, then he can just give it to the running back, because now the guy that's supposed to have him as far as his responsibility, if he runs the ball, it's not crashing, so he can make yards during the run. It's a great understanding on what Nick Foles can do, what he did, which when he was a better quarterback, and how he implemented into this game plan. Masterful job. I got to take my hat off to what Coach Peterson did.
Yeah, they certainly. I thought the difference was Peterson got the better of Quinn.
No question. There's no question about that. I mean, in all facets, his second half adjustments, and we'll talk about Swartz. Let's talk about Swartz too. Swartz did a great job of really holding that offense and stopping them. They only had really 2 real drives, and with the size of those 2 real drives, they scored all their points off turnovers from their offense and the special teams.
Hey Barrett, I thought the Eagles' defense of all the games was the best unit from the weekend. Agree?
Oh, no question.
They don't win. They win the game because their defense flat out was masterful. Jim Schwartz, great game plan. I thought they were the difference, and I thought Fletcher Cox was absolutely the man. I mean, if you were waiting for him to step up and be the man, he absolutely destroyed that game plan for Atlanta.
And he had to, too, because, if you look at it, he was great in the run. He would pick his guy up and literally pick him up, drive him into backfield, and make the play, make a tackle then. Then on pass play, he would throw somebody out the way, go hit Alex Mack, the all-pro guy, and still make it to the quarterback in enough time to impact the throw. Those are things you can't coach. Those are things that you have to have it inside you to be able to do. His athleticism and the way he played the game last week was just it was crazy how explosive he looked. He played with an attitude, with bad intentions yesterday. On Saturday, and it was unbelievable.
The other thing too, Nick Foles 23 for 30. He didn't throw a touchdown, no interceptions, but spread the ball around. Jeffrey 4, Ajayi 3. I thought the 2 screen plays was a big factor in the game. Torrey Smith 3 for 39, Ertz 3 for 32. Clement had 5. He really just, they got him into such a rhythm. It was very reminiscent of the 13 season where they just kind of spread the ball around. DJ, Cooper, they just moved it all over the place. And the fact of the matter is the Eagles wide receivers, who we heard a lot about the Atlanta secondary, that they were really good and they got open and they made catches.
No question. You couldn't bracket one guy, because if you bracket somebody else would be open. And when you did bracket somebody, they would run the ball with that safety pulled out. They'd run the ball, and now you have to put the safety back in. So now you can't bracket a guy because the safety's back in the box now. So you throw it over the top to Alshon Jeffrey. He's running stop routes, right? You look at even Nelson Aguilar running the little simple the tackle. It was a tackle trap option play where he handed the ball off to Nelson Aguilar with Johnson pulling around and hitting the linebacker. All those plays, it's like he took it out of his hat. He was a magician yesterday in the play calling, and Foles, he definitely conducted it, as well as I've seen him play in a long, long time.
Right. And
he understood what he needed to do.
Right. This is, a good indication of those, him taking the week off or 2 weeks off there and just self kind of, evaluating, self-scouting there. He saw a lot of things, That's why I was not a big proponent of having him play in that Cowboys game. But, either way, whatever happened in that Cowboys game, it was either he played poorly and people were going to harp on that, or he played well and it was, he didn't play. He sat out for 2 weeks, so no matter if he played well or not, it's not going to carry over. There was not a lot to be gained in that game. This was all about Nick figuring out what he was doing wrong.
Well, no question. And another thing is, too, it wasn't that vanilla play calling that we saw the last 2 weeks of the season. If you look back at those plays, you hadn't seen those plays before. Doug understood that he had to get some vanillaness out there, so when he does take out his full package of plays, that the defense couldn't adjust to because they hadn't seen it before, especially the play calling he called in the second half. Nobody saw those plays before. So how do you adjust as a defense to something you hadn't seen before? That was masterful by Doug Peterson also. It was so vanilla those past 2 weeks that everybody saw, that everybody thought that they could, virtually go in there and stop this offense. I have to say, Doug played his hand just right. You got to know when to fold him and know when to walk away. Well, those last 2 games, he folded, he walked away.
Hey, Barrett,
then he turned around. He had straight flushes, on Saturday's game, man.
You ever been on a team that was an underdog like this team and used it as motivation? Because there's a lot of talk about, they really took offense to nobody picking them, and just wondering how much, because it's all hindsight. Before the game, you could talk about it. Then after the game, it's, well, they used that as motivation. But you ever been on a team where, you might have had a better record or a higher seed and you were an underdog? It doesn't happen all that often.
Well, I mean, how about my rookie year? Let's go back to 58 to, what was it, 36 or 37? Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
That game,
Rodney Pete.
Rodney Pete? It was. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't that they were going to win. It was how much they were going to win by. That's what Lomas Brown said.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about bulletin board material. Talking about a guy that got us riled up. Ray Rhodes used that and ran with it. That's one of the most animated speeches I've ever heard in my life. That day, with that speech going into that game, he had us ready to eat our own young, man. He was bad. We went out there with an attitude and a chip on our shoulders the size of the Rock of Gibraltar. We wanted to go out there and just impose our will on them, and that's why we won 58 to, I think, 37 or 36 or something like that.
Now,
it was total domination.
We were talking before about the final series there, and one of our Eagles guys, Scott Grayson, said that he was talking to some of the players in the locker room and that they were prepared for that fourth down play. They knew it was coming. The rollout to Jones, they told Mills, they're coming after you to be ready. I guess that's another indication of the preparation winning in this game. Because we talk a lot about the two 53-man rosters are pretty similar. I mean, they're at this stage of the game, the two 53-man rosters are going to be pretty equal. But the coaching and the game plan sometimes tips the scale. And again, it's another indication that the Eagles were prepared for the biggest moment.
No question. You could tell everybody looked at it. They knew they were going to run the play's called sprint right option. And they understood that they were going to have one-on-one over the top with Jalen Mills going against Julio Jones. And I tell you what, the kid played it just right. I thought it was going to be a penalty, but, ended up slipping. It looked like he was, interfered with, but he actually fell, and he played it just right, he used his athleticism, the understanding that this guy, they're coming to him. And then when they were rushing the pass, if you watch how they were rushing Matty Ice on that play, they did it under control. They did it in a way in which he wasn't going to be able to extend the play any. They corralled him instead of just running right at him. That was great the way they played it, from the defensive line all the way back from the linebackers. You couldn't go underneath, and to the DBs in the back. They were well prepared, well coached, and ready to play that game.
Barrett Brooks was with us. All guests appear via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. So they'll play Minnesota. You watched the game yesterday. Do you think there was a better matchup, Vikings or Saints, or it didn't really matter? They're similar. Or did you think there was a better matchup for Philadelphia?
Well, everybody's going to think I'm crazy, but I think we match up better against Minnesota as opposed to playing against the Saints. I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought the Saints would have been a harder team to play against, number one, because you got a veteran quarterback, a good quarterback, and he can run that offense. They had, Kamara. They had Ingram. Those guys could break loose at any time. So they were well balanced. They were so balanced that it would be hard for us to stop them. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I think that our defense will match up better against Case Keenum and Diggs and those guys. I really think that we can go out there and really take control of the game. I like our odds better against Case Keenum than I did against Drew Brees.
Yeah, I think
point blank, bottom line.
I think a lot of people look at it right. I think a lot of people look at that side and say, "I'll take my chances versus Keenum," but what about Foles against their defense?
Well, you saw what happened the other day. They now understand if you run the ball, good things come out of it. And if you watched how they called the play calling, I'm looking at their defense, and I'm impressed with their defense as a whole. But there are little places that the Eagles actually fare better than they do. Our offensive line can handle their defensive line, with the exception of Griffin. They're going to have a little help with him. But everybody else matched up, I don't see it as much as a difference that, they can generate pass rush besides Griffin. So if you double team him, who else can go out there and make a play? yes, they're going to have to go out there and really make sure that they help Big V if Griffin lines up over there. But I think Hunter lines up over there.
Yeah.
I think Griffin will be on Lane Johnson. I'll take that matchup all day and twice on Sunday.
What about
Lane Johnson against Griffin? Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, then you got their secondary with the Eagles receivers, and this is a better secondary than the Atlanta secondary. Even though Atlanta's secondary is pretty good, this one's a notch up.
Yeah, it is a notch up, but I mean, Alshon showed me a little something, and Nelson Aguilar showed me a little something this last game. I mean, there's something going on, man. I wrote an article on our website on NBC Sports Philly, and I said it's a little mojo going on, man. I can't give you an analytical reason. I can't break it down and give you actual facts on why I feel this way, but there's something going on with this team that they're almost destined. You know what I mean? They're almost destined. Things are falling into place for them. And every time something bad goes on, somebody steps up and plays well enough for them to take it to the next level. That's the same mojo and magic that I felt the year I won the Super Bowl when we had all that adversity against us and we ended up winning it. I see that same little mojo going. And plus, because since this Super Bowl will be in Minnesota. Now, if the Super Bowl was going to be in Miami or the Super Bowl was going to be in California or maybe New Orleans, we wouldn't have a snowball's chance. But since it's going to be in Minnesota where it's going to be cold and I'll have to go out there and cover it, if it was Miami, I wouldn't be able to go out there and cover it. But since it's going to be in Minnesota, NBC is going to send me to Minnesota to cover this in that freezing cold out there, 6 degrees outside. So I mean, I'm just jinxing us to go to the Super Bowl simply because I don't want to go to Minnesota. Period. Point blank.
So let's real quick get your thoughts on it. Jacksonville beats Pittsburgh 45-42. I wasn't surprised that Jacksonville won so much as I was how they won that game.
No question, they totally dominated on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, and that was the Steelers' shortcoming with their defense, their linebackers. With Shazier out, they just couldn't handle the running attack of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the play action just opened up. And Blake Bortles played masterfully in getting the ball to his open receivers in that play action. So I mean, they played the great game. But you also have to look at this. That Jacksonville defense showed some kinks in their armor. They allowed them to score all those points. So you're going against New England, it's going to be tough, man, because Brady will definitely shred you up.
Yeah. Even
though that defense was good, I mean, they got exposed a little bit, but they were still good enough to beat Big Ben and his receiving corps. So, it's going to be a good game, better than what people think. If
Tomlin wasn't so entrenched in Pittsburgh, that game was almost a fireable offense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no question. No question. There's only been 3 Pittsburgh Steelers head coaches, and because of that, he'll survive this storm. But it was some bad decisions made there. For him to go ahead and onside kick it.
What are you doing?
That's ridiculous. Too much time on the clock to be going through that. And then just some of the play calling it was just shaky. So I don't know, man. I really truly believe if he wasn't in Pittsburgh, he'd have been anywhere else.
Yeah, fireable.
They might have been crying for his job.
And in the Minnesota game, I mean, the way that game ends there, if you're in New Orleans, I don't know how you're getting over that. But just the way that game went, they're up 17, and New Orleans comes back. And that's the thing. The thing that concerns me a little bit is about the Minnesota defense. That I don't know if Minnesota gets up 14-17, nothing. Nick Foles isn't Drew Brees. I don't know that he's bringing you back against that defense the way Brees was able to.
No, he's not. So we have to make sure that we go out there and we got to keep it close throughout the beginning of the game, and hopefully get to that third quarter. If we get pretty close in that third quarter, we have the ability on the third quarter to really open up the floodgates against people. I don't know what it is, but third quarters is like our mojo. We play better in the third quarter with our adjustments. So if it's close around that time, we have a fighting boxer chance. But I will say this. We can't allow ourselves to get down like that and think we can come back.
No, and by the way, big stat in the game, Barrett, third down conversions. The Eagles out-converted Matt Ryan and Julio Jones 6 of 12 against 4 of 12, or 6 of 13 against 4 of 13. That's the big difference in the game right there.
I know, and even better than that, time possession. Eagles won the time possession, kept the ball out of Matty Ice's hands. That's another reason why we won this game.
32 carries, just 96 yards, but like you said, that kept them off the field, and it kept them worn down, beat up a little bit. So it'll be the Eagles and the Vikings. And the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, they had to beat the Falcons, and the Vikings just reversed the order. See if they can flip-flop it this Sunday night in the NFC Championship game. BB.
That mojo.
I hope we're talking Monday about the good mojo.
No question, bro. No question, man. Have a good one, bro. And I'll talk to you next Monday.